Holiday was introduced by the Trailblazers today following the trade between the Blazers and Celtics. Holiday was asked what his goals are for the upcoming season.
Honestly, it's to win. I feel like that's always been the ultimate goal ever since you've started playing basketball is to win. Whatever that may look like. Obviously, taking small wins is great, but winning is what we do, is what we play this game for.
Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com is going to join me today coming up at 3:20. According to reports, the gunman who shot and killed 4 in New York City yesterday was targeting the NFL offices. A note found in his wallet suggests he may have suffered from CTE. Mayor Adams said the medical examiner will determine if he will be checked for CTE. Martin Emerson Jr. was carted off at Browns practice today. Elsewhere, Las Vegas will host a World Cup draw on December 5th. Coming up next, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Dave Deckard at 3:20. Colin Amos answers your questions at 4:20. And Chris Burkhardt in studio at 5.
It's time for the Rip City Drive. Brought to you by Goldberg Jones. Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. Featuring the crazy and often irrational longtime Portland radio vet, Chad Doing.
I ended up getting a call from Brad, and he ended up telling me a little bit before. So, but I was excited. I knew that obviously I got traded here before. And so it was just kind of full circle, talking to Chauncey about it, talking to Joe about it, and I really do appreciate what they did for me the first time around. That really does mean a lot for me in my career. So I know this time around, just talking to them, they're just kind of like, I got another chance to get you, and they thought that I'd be a good piece here. So excited to be here.
Have you got a chance to check out Young Johnson yet? Any of his highlights explain something?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a superstar. He's been hooping. We were talking about it earlier, just like about how much media and stuff that he's had, during Vegas. But it's he deserves it. He's been doing this thing. I'm not sure anybody kind of saw like how well he would play, but he's been out there playing well, so I'm excited.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
I almost feel like it's sacrilegious to talk over classic Hall & Oates. What's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive, Chad Doing, along with Brendan Slaughter. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday as we continue with the beautiful sunshine and warm temperatures. I cannot believe July is almost over and we're going to enter August. It's going by too quick. I love this time of year because it is my time. The summertime weather, being outdoors, the golf, everything that's going on, it's wonderful, but it goes by too fast. When you're having a good time, the time does fly. A lot of different things I want to get to today. We are going to hear from Jrue Holiday. He is like the ultimate pros pro. There is nothing I don't love about this guy. He, his family, the way he operates, the way he communicates, the type of player he's been, the type of teammate he's been. He's exactly the type of guy you want as a part of your franchise. And the Boston Celtics did not get rid of Jrue Holiday because they don't like him or because he can't play anymore. It was strictly a cost-cutting measure by the Celtics. If they weren't trying to get their cap under control because they've been spending mad cash lately, they wouldn't have done it. It's that simple. But he's in Portland now, which is crazy. It was really bizarre to see him just casually answering questions. It's been a bizarre offseason for the Trailblazers. Had a couple of older dudes hit me up on the course today and mentioned the same thing. This guy, Powell, was like, man, the Blazers have been active. I mean, think about what's gone down. It's pretty weird. Jrue Holiday is acquired from the Celtics in exchange for Anthony Simons. And then they draft somebody that nobody's heard of. And if people pretend to know who he is, they were lying. Young Hansen from China. And then we see the rest of the maneuvers with Dame coming back to town. Crazy. Absolutely bizarre, but Jrue Holiday is here. Dave Deckard is going to join me coming up at 3:20. So we'll talk with good old Dave. He's been on a little vacation, enjoying some family time. I have not spoke with him since the Dame signing was announced. So I want to get his take on Dame joining the Trailblazers once again. Colin Amos is going to join me in studio at 4:20 to answer your questions from 1-800-DIVORCE. And then at 5:20, Chris Burkhart's going to join me in studio and hang out. And I want to get to some football today. I want to talk a little music. I got a lot of different things running through my mind. And right now I feel pretty sharp. My mind feels good. So I want to try and tap into that while I've got it. It's not too often that I feel like I'm operating at a high level, but right now I feel pretty good. So let's see if we can get through this. Jrue Holiday, made available to the media today, was hanging out, answering questions with his son. And we know, or I think most of us have heard or have seen, we know what the story is on Jrue Holiday. One of the best defenders in the NBA, one of the best teammates in the NBA, and no matter where he's been, he's made a positive impact. He's the type of player that you want in your locker room. I think he's a perfect fit to the culture that Joe Cronin's been working really hard to establish here in town. And he likes to win. He's a very competitive dude, but he's a different type of cat. He's got a much bigger view than the majority of people who are sitting in the me generation. Look at me, look at me. Jrue Holiday is not one of those guys. He's not going to spend a lot of time talking about himself. He's more team focused. And the best part is, I think when you see the press conference today, you don't have to worry about the reports immediately following the trade that Jrue Holiday was unhappy or that somehow he might be disgruntled. He doesn't operate that way. If he's traded and he's under contract, he's going to show up like a true professional and get busy, which is really cool. I mean, that's what you want and expect from a guy like Jrue Holiday. And he was asked about his fit on this basketball team.
Honestly, we've talked about offense slightly, a little bit. Obviously, defense, I feel like I fit in anywhere. Knowing the type of defense that they had and played with. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, let's relax a little bit. Right here, hold that. Yeah, the type of defense that they had last year, super excited about. But honestly, I'm here to fit in wherever I fit in.
You got to love kids. They don't really care what's going on. They're just into what they're into. He's got some type of piece of paper or a package, or maybe it was a snack pack, and he's crinkling it as Holiday's trying to answer questions. Thanks, son. Really appreciate that. Kids do not care. They do what they do. Love that response, though. I feel like defensively I can fit in anywhere. Exactly. And he's going to fit right in here with this new look roster. It's pretty remarkable when you look at the roster now and you see guys like Tamani Kamara, Denny Avdia, a shot blocker like Donovan Clingan, a good defender like Matisse Thybulle, and now Jrue Holiday. They have a slew of dudes who can get after it and defend, who are willing defenders. Who would have thought 10 years ago we'd be talking about willing defenders here in Portland? The roster is totally different now. But I think, as you can hear from him, he has no issue. He knows he's going to be able to fit. He is the type of player that can fit with anyone. And again, go back to the trade. I know this to be true. One of the things the Blazers really liked about him is they believe that he can make an impact on this team because he doesn't need the ball in his hands at all times. He can play without the ball. He can handle the ball. He's going to allow the other guys that you want to initiate the offense, like Avdia, Scoot, and Shaden, because he can play without the ball. Some guys can't. They need the ball. Like Anthony Simons needs the ball in his hands to really be effective. Jrue Holiday can do it many different ways. He was also asked about coming to Portland.
I ended up getting a call from Brad, and he ended up telling me a little bit before. So, but I was excited. I knew that obviously I got traded here before. And so it was just kind of full circle, talking to Chauncey about it, talking to Joe about it. And I really do appreciate what they did for me the first time around. That really does mean a lot for me in my career. So I know this time around, just talking to them, they're just kind of like, you know, I got another chance to get you. And they thought that I'd be a good piece here. So excited to be here.
Again, my apologies for Jrue Holiday's son making noise with his noisemaker. He's going to be exactly who he's been his entire career. He's not going to pout or be upset because he's in Portland. And I'm sure his initial reaction was not exactly excitement. I mean, let's just be real. We know because we live here and we've planted our roots here. We know that the Northwest, even with its imperfections, has a lot of good things to offer. But I would suggest that if you or I were playing for one of the best, if not the best franchise in history, and have just won a championship, and we're on a really good team that's competing for championships, and all of a sudden our agent told us we were being traded to Portland, we may not do cartwheels and jump for joy because of the difference in where the two franchises are at. But with time, you adjust, you focus, and you start to get busy. And that's the way Jrue Holiday operates. He was also asked about his goals for the season. I like this answer.
Honestly, it's to win. I feel like that's always been the ultimate goal ever since you've started playing basketball, is to win. Whatever that may look like. Obviously, taking small wins is great, but winning is what we do, is what we play this game for. So if it's getting to the playoffs, if it's winning a championship, I feel like winning is the purpose and the reason why I'm here.
You know what's great about that answer? A lot of players, when they say it's about winning, it's not. A lot of players talk about winning, but really it's about the money. A lot of players talk about winning, but maybe it's about the touches. Maybe it's about showcasing their abilities because they're after the individual accolades. But when Holiday says it, you know it's true because he's willing to play any type of way that you need him to play in order to help the team win. And it's nice to have those type of players on the team. Now, Holiday also was asked about Dame signing with the Blazers for the second time after he was traded to Portland. Well,
when he got released, I texted him a little emoji, and I don't know, maybe it was kind of like, what's up? Because obviously Dame loves Portland, and he's been here for years, and I know his family and stuff is here. But to be able to play with him on the same team is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and even before I left New Orleans, that was something that I've always wanted to do. So being able to do it back here, and especially with a team that Dame has really put on his back for a long time, is really cool.
Yeah, and we all remember what Holiday did to Dame in the postseason back in 2017. That was highly annoying. Lockdown defender. So tough. He was also asked about the younger guards on the team. I think a lot of people look at Scoot now and they're like, dude, you got Dame, you got Jrue, and you got Chauncey. 3 guys who have played the same position at a high level to help school you, to guide you, to assist you. And he was asked about the younger guards.
Younger guys that you can tell love the game of basketball. They let it hoop. You can tell they give 110% every time they play. So super excited to, if it's mentor them, but just kind of play the game, be able to go out here and show the world not just my talent, but theirs. And just from playing against them, they have long roads ahead of them. They're going to have a very long careers.
In other words, I'm just going to lead by example. The way I practice, the way I play, the way I operate, that's what he's going to do. And finally, Jrue was asked about the Blazers center, their rookie from China, Young Hansen.
Yeah, he's been a superstar. He's been hooping. We were talking about it earlier, just like about how much media and stuff that he's had, during Vegas. But it's he deserves it. He's been doing this thing. I'm not sure anybody kind of saw like how well he would play, but he's been out there playing well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, as we are. So there's Jrue Holiday, officially a Trailblazer, and had a chance to talk and share his thoughts. But I'm excited. I can't wait to see Jrue play in a Trailblazer uniform. Always been a big fan of his. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number if you want to jump on the show. I'm perfectly fine with that. You can join me via YouTube with the live stream. Just go to youtube.com, Rip City Radio 620. And you can find me on social at Chad and Rip City. You can always podcast and listen to our show live on our free iHeartRadio app. We have Hillsborough Hop tickets to give away today, a 4-pack to sit in the Rip City Radio row. We're going to do that coming up at 5. 503-248-0620. We'll get Dave Deckard from BlazersEdge.com. His thoughts on Dame coming back to Portland coming up next. Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I have not spoken with Dave Deckard since the Trailblazers reacquired Damian Lillard. And Dave is one of those guys where I always like to know what's going on in his mind when it comes to the team. And he's coming off a little vacation time and was kind enough to join us today. Dave Deckard, the man behind BlazersEdge.com. Dave, welcome back to the show. How was vacation time, my friend?
It was great. I was in the Midwest in the Ohio area riding some roller coasters. It was hot and muggy, but it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Now, where is that? Is that called Cedar Point? Is that where you went?
That is where I went. It's a roller coaster capital of the nation, and those roller coasters are pretty reflective of the Blazers' summer so far. Huh?
All right, real quick on Cedar Point, because my daughter and I love going to amusement parks, and I'm always looking around for different places where we can go, whether it be Six Flags. I have looked at Cedar Point, and it does look like the best. Like, how legit are the rides and the options there? Is it as good as it looks on video?
It is better. Some of those rides are indescribable. Like the third best ride there, the third best coaster there is better than any coaster you've ever been on. So it's an absolute must visit. Also, I don't know, Six Flags just merged with the Cedar Fair Corporation, so I don't know what's going to happen to prices, but at least this year the ticket prices are still really reasonable compared to anything else that you do. Even getting season passes is not very expensive, so the way to go is to get one of those and go for multiple days, and it's absolutely incredible.
That's awesome. Now, did you drive or fly?
No, we drove. My son's old enough to drive now, so I just tossed the keys to him and was passenger princess, and it was it was great.
Dude, that's the way to do it. You know what I've learned? My son loves road trips, and so I've ended up on drives to places where I would have normally never driven to. But what I've learned to love and appreciate about it is that you see things and you get a chance to stop off and check things out that you wouldn't be able to do in a plane, and I've learned to really enjoy it.
Absolutely. And as we've talked about before off air, he has a 650-song playlist, which includes copious amounts of yacht rock and soft rock, which he loves. So we could put you in the back seat and, hours would pass with you happily singing along with him, I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't need anything else to appreciate you completely. But after hearing your love, because you got to keep in mind, Dave, I view you as a gentle soul. So to know that you're willing to ride some of the baddest ass roller coasters in the country, that makes me happy. Like that, I'm impressed, man. That's good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am kind and compassionate and try to be measured in everything. But when it's time to go, we go. And, that's what you hope the Blazers also have, right?
Oh.
A lot of nice guys now, a lot of veterans that you love. But you know what? You hope when that season starts, everybody's working hard, has their nose to the grindstone, and is ready to kick some butt.
Yes. Okay. Let's start with Dame. I would say I spoke with a fan yesterday, and I think the way that they said it to me, the quote, sums up the majority of Blazer fans that I've talked to. This guy rolled up on me and said, Chad, Dame is back. And I said, that's right. And he goes, I don't care what he does on the court. I'm just happy to have him back in a Trailblazer uniform. And I think that's the way the majority of fans feel. They're just happy to have the guy back. What was your reaction when you saw the deal go down?
I think that's essentially correct. I mean, it didn't look like they were going to use their mid-level exception on anyone that exciting. And when the opportunity came up to bring the most charismatic player, the highest scorer in the history of the franchise, back home after the ruffled feathers of 2023, I think they took it. Now, you got to understand, for Portland, there have been three players. There's Bill Walton, Clyde Drexler, and Damian Lillard. Bill Walton left under adverse circumstances, and there was a lot of animosity, and it took a while to cure that. Clyde Drexler, same thing, and that rift still isn't healed. The chance to have the franchise face back and end his career in the bosom of Rip City and also on happy terms is a rare thing. In fact, it's never happened before. So in that way alone, it was probably a good signing just for the spirit of the team.
Yeah.
Who knows what Dame is going to be able to do? I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be able to play at all, let alone near his former level. We know the problems with defense. We know the adjustments he's going to have to make as a 36-year-old as opposed to a 26-year-old. All that said, it's still going to make Blazer fans happy, at least for now. The cost was reasonable enough, so there's no real loss, I would say, that they incurred in doing this.
First off, I have to give you credit. I think that's the first time someone has worked in the word bosom into the radio show. So I really like that a lot because, well, that would be a Dave Deckard thing to do. But let me ask you this question. And I don't mean this to be weird, but I've been thinking about this. Like, is it possible, Dave, for a team to make a signing or to bring a player back, even if you don't get the production on the floor that you're looking for? Can it still be a win?
It depends on what you're looking for. Again, the Blazers, the PR boost from this was almost enough. Now, MLE is pretty expensive nowadays. I don't know if you've noticed, but not a lot of guys are signing for the full MLE here.
True. They're
either at the superstar level, making $35 million and above, or they're below 10. So Dame's kind of in that middle ground. That's rare. It was a significant chunk of change, but again, he's Damian Lillard. There is no other name you could have brought with that cachet, with that PR, with that ability to sit in front of a mic and talk. The way I described it on the site is Damian Lillard for more than a decade was the answer to every question here.
Yes.
The Blazers were playing poorly. Put Dame at the microphone, and he'd explain it. They were playing well. Take some pictures of him, put him in the paper or wherever it is, and everybody will cheer. They lost all of that identity when they lost him. Getting him back, even if he doesn't play at that former level, provides them that kind of lightning rod for public attention, for PR, for ticket sales, for all that stuff that makes it make sense. In that sense, it's going to be a win. In a basketball sense, I have my doubts, but you know what? Even half of Dame will be enough to get people up and cheering. And it really still depends on the young players who are growing up around him. But if he doesn't interfere with that, that'll be good enough.
All right, here's my dilemma. I'm with you on this 100%. I'm happy Dame is back. I love the guy. But I don't see the basketball fit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me yet. So, and the good thing is we don't have to worry about this for the year while he's rehabbing. But that's where I'm at. I'm glad that he's back, and I understand why they did it. I just have a hard time seeing how it's a good fit basketball-wise. That's all.
Realistically, he may never play again or may never play at his former level. We do not know.
Yeah.
There's no basketball to be had right now. There is the mentorship angle. I'm going to write about this later in the week. I think it's going to ruffle feathers. But look, I don't think you make a signing just for the effect on other players. That's probably a bad signing because it never turns out as good as you think it's going to for about 100 reasons, not the least of which is these guys are competing for the same minutes, right? Especially since Dame's a point guard, Scoot Henderson is point guard, Jrue Holiday is a point guard. You've got three players who are expecting to play and are accustomed to play, and you know the old guys aren't going to put themselves out to pasture as quick as you think. If they're on the team, they're going to want to play. That's a problem for another day to work out, but it's just bolstering your point that this is not an easy fit on the floor. But again, Damian Lillard's name and reputation are so big that it overwhelms that consideration. It would be like, in a way, bringing Magic Johnson back to the Lakers. Obviously, you wouldn't do that at this age, but, you know, if that name gets reassociated with the team, nobody will care how many points he scores. It's Magic. Yeah, Dame is that person in Portland right now, and, you know, in that way, the signing is a plus, and that's about all you can say about it right now.
Dave, that comparison to Magic Johnson is perfect because I remember when he came back during the 95-96 season, and he played point forward, and he had a bunch of younger guys around him. Nobody cared. Laker fans did not care what he would be basketball-wise. They just knew they had Magic back. It's the same thing as Blazer fans here in Portland with Dame. So I'm glad you brought this up about the mentorship, you know, because after people just being happy Dame's back, the biggest thing I've heard from Blazer fans is, look at Scoot Henderson now. He gets to learn from Chauncey, from Jrue Holiday, and from Dame. And I'm just wondering if do we overblow sometimes the idea of leadership or mentorship or what young guys can learn from veteran players?
I mean, that's part of it. It will depend on Scoot's development. I don't think that part is overstated. If Scoot blossoms, then it doesn't matter if Dame's here or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the Dame point becomes moot. If he doesn't blossom, Dame can't save them. So the point also becomes moot. So in that sense, it doesn't matter that Dame's here vis-a-vis the trajectory of the team. That's going to depend more on Scoot and Shaden Sharp and Denny Avdia than it does on Damian Lillard or Jrue Holiday. The mentorship angle can be valuable, but it can get messed up in a lot of ways. It's a fuzzy picture. And I will tell you, in organizations, it is not always good to have a lot of guys on the rungs of the ladder above your superstar, especially when those guys have a lot of experience but are on the decline. Because A, they don't move as easily as you think they're going to off of that ladder. B, their advice may not be applicable to the guy underneath who's coming up. And C, even their existence provides kind of a shelter or a ceiling over the head of that superstar that wouldn't otherwise exist. And if he's going to succeed, he has to bust through that ceiling one way or another, which means by default busting through them. It's harder to make that all work out to everybody's satisfaction organizationally and interpersonally than you think. One of the things that happened when I was growing up in my other career is there were a bunch of old guys who were pretty good at the job who were really eager to be my mentor. And I super value mentorship, and we need it. We all build on the work of the people before us, and ignoring that is foolhardy. But you know what? It becomes oppressive. It becomes a critique at some point. It becomes a definition of you as you're too young, you don't know what you're doing, you're not ready to do this, and therefore you need me as a mentor. Well, Scoot Henderson may need to hear, you know what? It is your time. You need to go out and be you. This is your team. This is your ball. You don't need me. You need to go out and be what you're supposed to be. And if that's the message that he needs to hear in his third year, there is at least a possibility that all this quote-unquote wisdom above his head is simply serving as a blanket, keeping him away from that ascent.
You know what I really believe, Dave? Like this whole rebuild and where this team is going right now, forget about Dame and Jrue Holiday and the veteran players. I still feel it all comes down to Scoot and Shaden developing and becoming the type of players they believe they can be. That's what it is. Isn't it that simple? Those two guys have to produce. They need those guys to hit.
Yes, and Young Hansen, and you have Donovan Clingan, you have Denny, obviously, Tamani Kamara. That's still the core of the team. This is what you did is you repainted the chassis, and it looks like a NASCAR car now, right? But if it doesn't have the engine, it's still not going to go fast, okay? The engine lies with those younger players, as does the transmission and all the really guts of the car. What you did, you repainted it really good, and maybe you have some extra wisdom driving it now. But again, if the car's not functioning at optimal capacity, all that chassis work and all the driving in the world isn't going to matter.
All right, before you go, what was your favorite coaster at Cedar Point? Was it Millennium Force? Was it Magnum XL? Was it Gatekeeper? Which one?
It used to be Millennium Force, which is brilliant, but there's one called Steel Vengeance, which puts you through a series of rolls and drops and stuff like that that's absolutely incomparable. It's super fast, and it has a lot of twists and turns. So Steel Vengeance would be my number one, Millennium Force right after. There are a few others that are also very good. It just depends on your taste, but those are two that just should not be missed by anyone who loves coasters.
I'm looking at a picture of it right now. What is that climb like up the hill? That is absurd. It looks awesome.
It is absurd. You know what? You have a couple choices. First is on the ramp up. Do you look at your feet or, your hands in front of you, or do you look over the edge? That's one measure of what kind of coaster rider you are. The other is, of course, are your hands up or on those safety bars as you plummet? But it's like flying. It is just obscenely freeing to go over that hill and realize that you are out of your seat being lifted into 0G and going very fast. And it's like being a bird in the air. And I think it's thrilling and really kind of neat.
That's so awesome. Now, it's right next to a body of water. Is that Lake Erie?
That is Lake Erie.
Awesome.
It's on a point. You drive across the land bridge, so to speak, to get to the park. The park's on, in essence, an island connected by that land bridge, and they pack all the coasters and other rides in there. And it's pretty well-maintained park. It's a good time.
All right, Dave Deckard is the man behind BlazersEdge.com. Hey, Dave, always a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. Enjoy your summertime, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Sounds good, Chad. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, I've checked it out. That amusement park there at Cedar Point it's the best. If you like thrill rides. See, here's where I'm at on thrill rides. I love them, but as I've gotten older, I have to pace myself or I'll get sick. I am very sensitive to motion sickness at this stage of my life. So I'll hit a couple, and then I need to catch a breather. You know what else I have you know what I'm deathly afraid of? I'll save that for next segment. There's one thing, just thinking about it right now, my hands are getting clammy. And I'm just curious if you all feel the same way. And by the way, props to Dave Deckard. He worked bosom into the interview. I don't think I've ever had a guest in the history of my life on radio ever use the word bosom. And, of course, when I hear bosom, I think of Abraham's bosom. But Dave Deckard, as a minister, of course he's going to work bosom into it. He's a little bit smarter than I am, and I'm guessing his vocabulary might be a little more extensive than mine. But if you can talk basketball and work in bosom, you got something going on. Yeah, Cedar Point. He drove out there, right there on the point next to Lake Erie. And according to what I'm looking at right now, Abraham's bosom represents a place of comfort, peace, and blessedness for the righteous dead. It is often associated with the idea of being close to Abraham, a revered figure in Jewish circles. There you go. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Jrue Holiday introduced to the media today. Let's go out to Michael in Lake O. Michael, welcome to the show, my friend. What's on your mind? Fire away.
Well, I think listening to you all talk about Dame, and look, I'm not expecting Dame, I'm hoping for an 80% Dame, but I think it's really easy to forget. There are players, like, it's easy to forget that KD tore his Achilles in 2019. Does he play like somebody who tore his Achilles in 2019? I think he came back pretty dang strong, and I think if we assume that Dame is not going to be the same guy, I'm not saying he would, but I'm definitely saying don't count this guy out.
No, I'm with you on that. My reason for optimism, Michael, is, when I was a kid and a player would suffer a torn Achilles, that, especially for an NBA player, that was normally kind of the end. But the procedures and the technology and the rehab has gotten so much better that I think it gives these players a chance to come back. The other reason why I've got hope is that, Dame is not an above-the-rim player like a Kobe Bryant type. He's a guy that shoots the ball and spaces the floor, and I just don't think he's going to lose that ability, Achilles or not.
No, I definitely agree, and as somebody who I'm much older, I tore my Achilles last year.
Yikes!
And I saw some of Dame's rehab, and he has some things going on that I did not have access to, and I'm sure that the guy is getting he's getting the best care in the world. And so, I don't know. I think he's going to come back. And I also think he's the kind of guy that wouldn't come back if he didn't think he could really impact the game. And I think, that'll play itself out. But I also think, lastly, I'll just say, I think he's the kind of guy that would gladly come off the bench. I just think he would. He's got integrity, and I think if he knows he's not the same guy, I think he'd come off the bench.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Real quick question for you, Michael. What procedure did they use? Can you explain it in layman's terms of how they were able to fix your Achilles?
For me, in particular, they decided that where the tear was, it was a complete tear. They decided not to operate because the Achilles didn't separate far after the tear. Like if you tear your Achilles down at the ankle, on your foot, right off your heel, sometimes, and this is gross, it kind of rolls up into your leg, and you have to get it fixed. But they said you're much less likely to re-tear your Achilles if you don't get it repaired. If you let it grow back. So I got this weird boot that made my heel go way up, and it was like I was walking around on my tiptoes in this boot, but it was designed to force your Achilles to repair itself.
Interesting. And how's it coming along now? How does it feel?
That was March of last year, and it just now, a couple months ago, it stopped hurting every single morning. So it's a heck of a lot better than it was. But like I'm in my 50s, so it's a different experience, I think, when you get to be my age.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Michael, man, I appreciate the phone call, buddy.
All right, take care, Chad.
There you go. Yeah, that's you can add that to the list. Don't need to experience a torn Achilles. I'll just take Dame's word for it. Well, you can stick your head up a butcher's. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. When we come back, I'll share with you what I'm definitely afraid of, dealing with motion sickness. Raise your hand. Do you deal with motion sickness? Are you sensitive to that? Like, I don't want to get on a tilt-a-whirl anytime soon, I can tell you that much. Or those graviton rides that spin you around in a circle. I don't need that in my life. Young kids do. My daughter thinks it's the greatest thing ever. All right, 503-248-0620. Colin Amos going to be in studio at 4:20 to answer your questions. All right, Colin Amos from 1-800-DIVORCE going to be in studio at 4:20 to answer your questions for the month. And then Chris Burkhart going to talk ball with me. He'll be in studio at 5:20. We're giving away a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops so that you may sit in the Rip City Radio Row coming up at 5 o'clock. Well, we were just talking with Dave Decker from BlazersEdge.com, and I knew he was on vacation. I did not know that he and his son drove out to Ohio, to Cedar Point, to that freaking amazing, the ultimate roller coaster park in the country. And I've looked up a number of different parks. Kaylee loves to go to amusement parks, and so we've hit Six Flags multiple times, which is great. And I love seeing the look on her face when she's half excited, half scared out of her mind. And some of those rides are amazing. And then when you're hot, because it's the middle of summer, you can hit the log ride and get wet and cool off a little bit. Like the entire experience, it's awesome. Have not been to Cedar Point yet, but Dave gave it 2 thumbs up. And they took the trek out there, a little road trip, which is pretty sweet. But for me, I grew up going to amusement parks. The place in Tulsa that we would go to, they had a really cool amusement park there called Bell's Amusement Park. And they had 2 roller coasters there, the Zingo, which was an old school wooden roller coaster. And it had 3 big dips in it. And this one where you go through a tunnel, and someone had painted it to look like the Joker's mouth that you were going into. It scared me when I was little, but I did it. My dad was good about forcing me and my brother to do things that were a little bit scary because he did not want us to be sissies. Or at least I think that's what he was thinking at the time. And of course, this is back in the early 80s, so they would say things like that. But we rode roller coasters. The log ride was amazing. The Spook House was, I think, called Phantasmagoria, very scary. And they had this ride called the Wildcat. Well, anyways, no issues with the rides at all when I was younger. But as I've gotten older, I've become sensitive to motion sickness, where if I ride a bunch of rides in a very short period of time, I get that weird feeling in my tummy, like circus tummy. And then you get like this low-grade headache that's awful. Like, I don't like the experience. So I've just learned to pace myself. And if I need to pace myself, I'll go and watch Kaylee hit a couple of rides. I'll catch a breather, and then I'll hit it again. Hit it again. So I'll do that. Well, I don't do things that go around in circles. I don't like any part of that because that just makes me sick. And I do not want to vomit. I don't like to see vomit at schools or at amusement parks. It's one of those things that makes me gag. It's not, and I don't want to contribute to that myself. But you know what gets me more than anything else? And it's been like this ever since I was younger. Riding, or even the thought of riding in the back seat of an automobile, it makes me break out into sweats. I get car sick in the back seat really easy. And it gives me that same feeling, the weirdness, like your stomach's upset, like you might need to throw up. You're not really sure what's going on. Then you get the low-grade headache. It's just a big bowl of wrong. Like, I don't need that. And so I start to grip. Like, if I have to take an Uber ride or a Lyft ride, when you go to a city where you don't have transportation, so you're using Uber or Lyft. The problem is that, and I understand it, the drivers, they don't have the front seat open for you to sit next to them. They want you to sit in the back. And so those short rides I have, and the problem is a lot of these Uber drivers, they use weird air fresheners in their car. And they don't smell good. So I've got bad air, so I got the window down, and mentally I have to take myself, kind of like Happy Gilmore, I have to find my happy place and not think about the fact that I'm getting car sick or I might get car sick. So I try to distract myself with a variety of different things because when it hits hard. But like, it's one of those things where like just thinking about it makes my hands, like right now my hands are getting clammy because I'm thinking about being car sick. But what's up with the weird air fresheners? How can you not put something in your car and realize that it smells like garbage? I don't want flowery, potpourri type smell. And then some guys, like taxi drivers, Steve and I made the mistake last year of catching a taxi from the Diamondbacks game back to our hotel. But it was like surface of the sun hot, and we were desperate, and we didn't want to wait like 5 minutes out in the sun for our ride. So we got a taxi, and the guy smelled like he was like Larry King with the garlic breath. It's like, dude, I know garlic's good for you, but do you need to swallow a bunch of it before you give someone a ride, you freak? Brush your teeth or do something. Mix in some mouthwash. Got any Tic Tacs, something? Oh, the garlic breath. I thought I was dead. I thought I was going to die. Not only am I getting car sick, but your breath is offensive. Horrible. Dude, can you not smell that? It's coming out of your pores, you weirdo. That's why garlic, I love garlic too, but if I'm going to eat it, I'm going to disappear and be by myself for a while because that stuff, there's just some things. I don't like what asparagus does to me, but I eat it. I don't like what garlic does to me, but I eat that too. All right, we'll come back. We'll keep things rolling. Colin Amos coming up in studio at 4:20. Chris Burkhart in studio at the 5 o'clock hour. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. Jrue Holiday introduced to the Trailblazers media today and was asked about young Hansen.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a superstar. He's been hooping. We were talking about it earlier, just like about how much media and stuff that he's had, during Vegas. But it's he deserves it. He's been doing this thing. I'm not sure anybody kind of saw like how well he would play, but he's been out there playing well, so I'm excited.
All right. We're going to talk with Chris Burkhardt. He'll join me in studio coming up at 5:20. You can podcast my conversation with Dave Decker to BlazersEdge.com on our free iHeartRadio app. According to reports, the gunman who shot and killed 4 in New York City yesterday was targeting the NFL offices. A note found in his wallet suggests he may have had CTE. Mayor Adams said the medical examiner will determine if he'll be checked for CTE. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, coming up in 20 minutes, Colin Amos is going to be in studio from the law offices of Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men, as he answers your questions. If you want to jump on board, you can do so, 503-248-0620. Also, Dave Deckard stopped by to share his thoughts on Dame re-signing with the Trailblazers. You can always podcast the show. Just head to our free iHeartRadio app or go to our website, RipCityRadio.com, and you can check things out. But Dave was terrific. And, he agrees that regardless of what Dame does on the floor, you cannot deny what this does for the fan base and the reaction and what it means for him to be back in town. Now, the cool thing was today, Jrue Holiday was introduced to the media, and this guy's a pro's pro. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And he talked about coming to Portland.
I ended up getting a call from Brad, and he ended up telling me a little bit before, so... but I was excited. I knew that obviously I got traded here before. And so it was just kind of full circle, talking to Chauncey about it, talking to Joe about it. And I really do appreciate what they did for me the first time around. That really does mean a lot for me in my career. So I know this time around, just talking to them, they're just kind of like, I got another chance to get you. And they thought that I'd be a good piece here. So excited to be here.
Yeah. It's great. One other thing I want you to hear, he was asked about his goals for the season. When a lot of players say they're all about the winning, that means it's probably 4th or 5th on the list. They're all about the money. Usually when a player says it's all about the winning, that's all I care about, they mean I'm all about the money. But Jrue Holiday is a different type of cat. He wants to win. He's the ultimate team guy. He's always been like that no matter what franchise he's played for. Great defender. He's one of those players where And coaches, I've heard that, and Nikola Jokic is like this, the coaching staff, very complimentary of him. Certain players, you can go to them, and whatever you ask them to do, they'll do it. Another example of that on the Blazers roster would be Donovan Clingan. He just wants the team to win, and he is willing to do whatever is asked of him to help that process along. I like players like that. A lot of guys want their touches, or they want to showcase their offensive skills. They want X number of shots per game, but some guys are like, you need me to do this tonight? No problem. You want me off ball? I can do that. You need me to handle the rock tonight? No problem. You want me to, spearhead everything defensively? I can do that too. It's nice to have versatile players who are willing to do whatever. Or, it goes back to what Greg Popovich has always said, that, how does he put it? Role acceptance is the most important thing. You may have a role for a guy, but if he doesn't accept it or doesn't want to play that role, that's a problem. So you get guys in like Jrue Holiday, role acceptance is not an issue for him. because he wants to win, and he talked about his goals for the upcoming season.
Honestly, it's to win. I feel like that's always been the ultimate goal ever since you've started playing basketball is to win. Whatever that may look like. Obviously, taking small wins is great, but winning is what we do, is what we play this game for. So if it's getting to the playoffs, if it's winning the championship, I feel like winning is the purpose and the reason why I'm here.
All right, one other thing. I think Connor Bergeron of BlazersEdge.com asked him what it's like being traded from Boston, one of the best teams in the NBA, to a team that's in a rebuilding process. Let's take a listen.
To go into a team that's fighting to make the playoffs?
We'll find out. No, I feel like no. I think that I've been in the game long enough to know that it's not always going to be the brightest or the best or the easiest, whatever you want to say. But I think coming to a team and an organization that has the character of this team and organization makes basketball great. And that's why you want to come here and you want to play because, okay, hold on. That's why you want to come here and play because you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. You feel like you're a part of a bigger team and a bigger purpose. So
hard not to love that guy. Jeez. Every single question that he answered was on point. That's Jrue Holiday. It's pretty cool to see him in a Trailblazer uniform. And it's going to be fun to watch him play. I do think the mentors / learning from the veterans, I think that gets overblown sometime. Or sometimes, leadership and all that stuff. It's great to have great leaders. You need that in your locker room. But mentorship or young guys learning from older guys, like I don't, Scoot, I think guys like Dame and Jrue, they're just going to set the example by how they operate. Preparation, how they practice. It may not just be one-on-one where they're saying, hey, Scoot, come here, let me show you this. But I think just being able to observe people that go about their business the right way. And you probably work with people like that too, where you notice like some of your coworkers, like the way they prepare, how they contribute to meetings, the things that they have to say, the ideas they come up with. Some people are just, they just set the example up by their process and how they operate, which is nice. All right, let's talk some football. Camps are hot and heavy. We got teams. We talked to Ryan Edwards yesterday, the Broncos. Liking a lot of things they're seeing out of camp. Bo Nix is making quick decisions, much more comfortable in the offense in year number 2. Evan Ingram, the veteran tight end who came in, has been a nice fit. He and Nix are connecting well. Their defense is going to be awesome. And they've got high-level players in their front, at the linebacker level, and in the secondary. So we know the Broncos are looking really good. The Raiders, all reports coming out with the Raiders. With Pete Carroll, they have direction. They're not a rudderless ship anymore. They've got a professional quarterback in Geno Smith, and they finally have direction from a guy in Pete Carroll who knows how to put things together, who knows how to rebuild, who knows how to provide direction, who knows how to motivate players, which is really good. The other team to keep an eye on, how about the Tennessee Titans? By all reports and everything coming out of their camp, Cam Ward, the rookie quarterback from Miami and Washington State, is going to be the day one starter. And the big question is, when you're a rookie, are you going to be prepared for the learning curve? Can you survive year number 1 without significant injury and having it destroy your confidence because you're going to make mistakes? There are going to be bumps in the road. How do you manage that? How do you handle that? Will the Titans be able to coach him along through that process? I think that's something to keep an eye on. But the teams to watch, I think, in the AFC. Buffalo right now, all eyes are on them because they have the roster to win a Super Bowl. And they've got a quarterback who is one of the very best in the league and has got supreme physical tools in Josh Allen. Will Buffalo be able to solve the Chiefs' riddle this year? And can they navigate their division, which on paper, it would appear they're going to win the East again. And then they're going to have to deal with the likes of Baltimore, with Kansas City, the Chargers, the Broncos, the top teams in the AFC. I really like Buffalo, and I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. I think they're in a good position. So keep an eye on the Bills. Maybe it's going to be important for them to put themselves in a position to where they're playing, games in late January at home. and not traveling to Kansas City. Maybe that's what it is. I think Baltimore is going to be really strong, one of the top contenders in the AFC because they're a franchise with great leadership, great front office. They have an identity. They know who they are, and they've got Lamar Jackson, who is a freak talent. Big fan of John Harbaugh. You know you're going to get tough defense, and you know they're going to want to be physical on offense with Lamar and with Derrick Henry. And in the AFC West, you've got the Chiefs, who are the best team in the AFC until proven otherwise. They've had to rework their offensive line a bit. They're going to have receivers coming back into the fold, which is going to help Patrick Mahomes. But we were just talking about NBA players who accept their role and are willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win. Patrick Mahomes would be a perfect example of that in Kansas City. Depending on the personnel and the team that they have, I mean, the way they've been able to navigate some of the injuries, if they need to run the football, he'll do that. If they need to throw it downfield because they've got Tyreek Hill and all the big-time playmakers, he'll do that. Whatever you ask Patrick Mahomes to do, he will do because he truly does care about winning. That's his top priority. So I think Kansas City is the team to beat, but I do think both Denver and the Chargers are going to challenge them more so than we have seen in Mahomes' career. And the Raiders are going to be much improved. The AFC West, I think, is the best division in football with the 4 best coaches I've ever seen in one division. There's no question about that. Now, with the Cleveland Browns, I'm keeping an eye on the quarterback situation. I'm fascinated by the whole setup with Shador, with Dylan Gabriel, with Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco. Now, according to reports, the big issue with Shador right now is that offense he played in Colorado didn't really prepare him for the things that he's going to be asked to do in the NFL, and especially with the Browns offense. And so he came in kind of behind, in terms of learning curve, behind the other guys. And so now he's working through that. He's had some flashes of brilliance in camp, but he's also, working through some of the struggles, being able to recognize what the defense is doing, the playbook, getting the team in and out of the huddle. And then, of course, the most important thing is don't hold on to the football too long. He's one of those guys like Caleb Williams that wants to scramble around, try to make a play. But in the NFL, with the athletes and the defenses you face, sometimes you just got to get rid of it and live to fight another down. So he is working through that. Right now, it looks like Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett have the edge, but it's an open competition, and there's room for guys to make progress in that battle. So we'll see how it shakes out there. And I'm looking forward to the battle of the 2-team race in the NFC East with Philadelphia, the defending champs, and poised to make another run with the Washington Commanders going into year number 2 with Jaden Daniels. Daniels was wildly impressive as a rookie, very accurate. He's kind of got that it factor. He can buy time and be mobile, but he does so with the intention of getting the football down the field. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Colin Amos is in studio. He will answer your questions next. And then Chris Burkhardt in studio in the 5 o'clock hour. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Colin Amos, law offices of Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone numbers in studio to answer your questions. I didn't even prepare you for this one, but I saw this come across the social media yesterday, Colin, and this is in regard to Chargers star tackle Rashawn Slater, who finalized his divorce from his wife recently. And Dov Kleiman, who covers the NFL, put this out there. He said, today Slater signed a $144 million contract extension with the team, including a $29 million signing bonus, and recently finalized his divorce from his wife. Now, he's trying to take a dig at Slater like, oh, yeah, you got divorced and then you signed this big lucrative deal. What was it you told me when I told you this story that popped out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like people didn't know that he was an NFL player. And it's like, this is a surprise. So, again, we're going to just presume that, that never existed, and whammo, you get divorced. The next day, you sign this big contract, and it wasn't contemplated in the negotiations and the divorce proceedings. Absolutely, it was.
Yeah, because it would be reprehensible as an attorney if you did not know or were unaware that her soon-to-be ex-husband was about to sign a new deal.
I'd be looking over my shoulder if I just, kind of casually said, well, I didn't know what his profession was. I didn't know that he was is in contract negotiation. So all that's part of the discovery process, and all was built in, I'm sure, to the negotiations, assuming they didn't even have a prenuptial, which I'm guessing, is this his first contract?
First big
okay,
deal,
yeah. So there was that's like me coming out of law school and asking for a prenuptial when I don't have
Oh,
crap.
you've got his debt.
I have debt. And so I'm guessing there's no prenuptial. And fair enough. He probably worked into the deal. Here's what I'm going to pay you, which is why it's very appreciated that she had that response, which is to defend him and defend that he was a stand-up guy. It sounds like what she's really saying in her tweets, like, hey, keep me out of this. He's deserved this. I'm part of that. He wasn't a jerk in the divorce proceedings.
Yeah.
Essentially that tells me I got paid.
Yeah.
Leave me out of it. We're okay.
Yeah, her exact response to Kleiman's tweet was, this is deplorable. I hold nothing but support for Rashawn. His contract is not about me. I think we should focus on what's important here, and that is his career and his success. Please stop including me in this narrative. He deserves his moment. Yeah, she got paid.
Love that.
But that's a great response.
It is a great response. And you never know. There could be also some, hey, no disparaging remarks, comments. Yeah. We're going to do the deal. I'm going to pay you this money. This is part of the whole thing. But when we leave this room, you got to keep it clean.
It's funny. It's like, based on what you've told me about your wife, she probably came to you and said, we need to do a prenup because she wanted no part of your college debt.
Exactly. She's like, I don't want to pay those student loans. I don't know if you're going to pan out, buddy. 30 years later, I think she's thinking maybe it'll work.
How bad are you jonesing for football right now?
Oh, I'm dying. I'm dying. I started listening to my podcast on what's coming up. And I really like the season, how it's shaping up, because there's only like 3 or 4 teams that are really, the Super Bowl contenders that you can point out. And after that, there's going to be a lot of interesting teams that can make the playoffs, like the Broncos. I mean, that's great. You got the Commanders coming back and Jaden Daniels. So there's a lot of teams that are making it real interesting, and a lot of just average teams. Some probably pretty bad ones, but not that many really great ones. Even the Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes. They're always going to be in there, but they're getting long in the tooth, and they're just not going to be able to do and perform the way they have. So I like all these up-and-comings. The Chargers are going to be fun to watch.
We're going to be able to see Penix play with the Falcons, which is going to be awesome.
Penix is going to be really fun to watch. I mean, he got in there last season, so he got some experience under his belt. So it's going to be fun. Some of these rookies as well as second-year players.
Well, maybe by next month when we get together, sometime later in August, hopefully by then you'll have some of your win totals that you're eyeing that you're going to bet on. It's funny because now that gambling is so accessible in all these states, I was playing golf with a young guy who I think was 22 or 23, but he was telling me about some of the win totals in the NFL that he's eyeing, with the Eagles and the Broncos and the Seahawks, and he was pretty excited about that. The team that I think is going to surprise this year and do better than I think what some people expect is the Raiders, because they have Pete Carroll, and he brought in a lot of veterans because he's not trying to rebuild. He wants to win as quickly as possible because he's 73 years old. He's not going to be around for 6 to 8 years.
I think that's an interesting team. I just wonder how the retread of that is going to play out. I mean, because Gino was frustrating last year. He was great. He was frustrating, but he didn't have an offensive line. Never had an offensive line. But he's old. He's one of the oldest quarterbacks in the league, and so I'm curious as to how that's going to play out. But it'll certainly be much better than the past couple seasons for the Raiders.
They're not a rudderless ship. They have direction.
Yeah, and Pete's such an inspiring coach to play for. People have a good attitude. They'll be out there. They'll be trying hard. They'll be having fun. And then you bring leadership like Gino in, and so they'll have a competitive season, which was really hard to watch them last year. When you're watching Max Crosby as the star player on the whole team, which is great. I mean, that's great, the defense and the ends, but you should have a little more pop in the offense somewhere.
Yeah.
And they had nothing.
All right, Colin Amos, Goldberg Jones, 1-800-DIVORCE. He is in studio, and every month he comes in to answer your questions. And I think we got some more good questions this month, Colin, at least ones that I think people are listening and they're coming at you with good questions. Let me run through some of these.
Some challenging questions, some interesting questions, things that I've never really thought about in the direction they've asked.
Well, that's what I like is like, in every divorce, and every divorce is different to a degree where everyone's got an interest in certain assets or different things that are going on with their situation.
Oh yeah. And what I think people are, because I've been doing it for 30 years, so I'm in a different space than most people, and so this always grounds me back. Oh yeah, these are the basics. These are things that people are thinking about that are critical to answer.
Do you naturally go into a situation when you talk to someone like, because you've done so many cases, you try to think in your mind like, oh, he's going to want this, or he'll probably want to answer this, and sometimes you find out like, oh, that's not the case.
Oh yeah. I kind of jump ahead because I got the script. I got your script, and so then they popped out with something different. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's not important to you. Okay, let's talk about the dog.
Interesting. Yeah, the dog.
Got to have the dog.
All right, here's the first question, Colin. Will my spouse's family trust be subject to community property rules in divorce?
Yeah, this one affects a lot of people because they're coming in with inheritance, or they're beneficiaries of estate, or they have family trusts or things of that nature. And in Washington and Oregon, inheritance or estates of that nature are presumptively separate property. So if you're just a beneficiary of a family trust, or if you're named and the family trust has come to pass, it still is presumptively separate. It's when you commingle separate property into the marital funds that you have some questions, but shouldn't be a problem on a family trust as long as you've kept it completely sterile.
All right. Love this question here. Colin, if I date my ex-wife, how do I protect myself financially?
Why? You've been there. There is there's a sea of money out there.
Yes.
There's a sea of women and men out there. Try something different. But, the easy way to double your net worth is marry your ex-wife. So I suppose this might be a financial question, really, the undertone. But anyway, how do you protect yourself financially? Get a prenuptial, I suppose. You don't want to have to go through that. That's the best thing to do for any situation. Get a prenuptial. Really outline, since you've been there, done that, and you've gone through the process of divorce, outline your finances in the future with a prenuptial, and then really get some counseling.
It's pretty amazing. I was playing golf with a guy last week, and I played with him a couple times, but he was telling me that his ex-wife has been hitting him up, wanting to hook up and stuff. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, just don't move in together. There's a lot of rules I have. Things that I think of that other people don't. Don't move back in because domestic partnership, and, don't live with your ex-wife, all these kind of things. But sure, yeah, go out on dates.
Oh, I've got to ask you, what was the reaction between you and everyone else in the office when you saw the astronomer, CEO, and the manager of the HR department get caught on the big screen at the Coldplay concert?
Love it. There's some great jokes out there, but that's the kind of stuff that now you can't hide from social media and the cameras and the tweets and the picture, so be careful out there. I mean, I would just not mess around, stay true, or get a divorce. Don't play this game anymore.
Just get a divorce.
They're going to Google you. If you go out and meet anybody and you give them your real name, they'll probably go in the bathroom and Google you and then find out all about you, and then somebody's gonna be pissed off. So
pretty
be careful.
much.
Yeah.
I'm Googling everybody. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. You go into. I'm sure that I haven't been in the dating scene for 30 years, But being around it and seeing the destruction around people, that is exactly, you go out on a date, you don't know who you're dating, first of all, on these apps that you're getting in on. So then when you go in the bathroom and you've met somebody, you're like, I don't think they're really who they are. And then if they gave you a name, then you're looking them up and you're
Yeah.
figuring out whether this date is going to continue
Yes.
or it's going to end. And
But a good reminder, too, because you pointed this out, that social media posts can come back to bite you.
yeah,
Big time.
all that Instagram, social media posts. A lot of people with kids and have restrictions on parenting time, drinking, any kind of drugs or partying, that will haunt you. And there's lots that, like this couple, that you're not posting yourself. And we've had people who have been at friends' parties and they're in the background chugging a beer, and all of a sudden that post on somebody else's site comes up, and then the wife finds out that you're not supposed to be drinking and you can't have parenting time. And so
Wow.
it nails you. Be careful.
All right. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number. If you have any questions, you can call. Colin will answer all of your questions. No charge for the initial consultation, which is great. Next question for you. Can you pay one lump sum for spousal support, or do you have to make payments?
This is a very good question because you don't have to make payments. Well, you'd have to get an agreement with regard to an acceleration or a buyout of spousal support. But the benefit of a buyout is it terminates the obligation any further. So if you, at the end, because she could or he could potentially modify spousal support before the end of the term of payments. If you do a buyout, that would terminate it at the moment of the buyout. It is over. And no, that door can never be opened again. So a trick is, right, last year of spousal support, say, hey, I can just pay you the rest of it out now and be done. And that terminates any ability to modify it in the future. So it's really can be used as a tool to secure the conclusion of spousal support, but you don't. But it still has to be done by agreement in general with regard to, you can't just pay it off and then say, I don't owe you any money.
All right. Staying in that category, Colin, what is the process for modifying spousal support?
It's an act of God. That's what I tell clients, which is hard for them to hear because they're like, hey, I had a 10% decrease in my income, or I think my ex is making more money. It really is very difficult to modify spousal support. The courts take it very seriously. It's an obligation to go to the term, whatever that term may be. So it requires a substantial, underlined, italicized, bold change in financial circumstances not known or intended at the date of divorce. And therefore, you losing your job is not a basis because you're going to get another job. So it does really require some significant changes, health issues that decrease your income. You lose your job, and your next job is substantially lower, legitimate retirement age, like 65, 66. There's guys that are like, I'm retiring at 59. I'm like, okay, that's not a substantial unanticipated change. You're going to have to probably pay till 65 when it's more legitimate. So a lot of tough circumstances. So you give me a call before you start celebrating too soon. And not that I want to throw cold water on it, but let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So you plan your future accordingly.
All right. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number if you're facing a divorce or a custody issue, or you need a prenuptial agreement. 1-800-DIVORCE. Colin will answer all of your questions. 1-800-DIVORCE. Next question for you. Can my ex-wife still come after me for money once the divorce is finalized?
It depends on what we're talking about. Child support can be modified. So obviously that's money. That can be modified pretty easily based upon the calculations. Spousal support, very difficult, especially for the person receiving support to modify it. Very, very difficult because making more money is not a basis for the person to come and get more spousal support because that's always anticipated.
Yeah.
If I was making $100,000 and now I'm making $300,000, that's not a substantial change that's unanticipated. I was always trying to make $300,000. I'm always trying to make more money, so that isn't a basis. But so spousal support and the child support are only two. After that, property and debt, good, bad, or ugly, it's final. So no more money on that.
All right. Next question for you. Colin, does community property mean the assets are split evenly?
No. So community property, there's states that are community property states like Washington, and equitable distribution states, which is Oregon. both handle the issue the same. But community property just means what you acquire during the marriage is considered to be joint or marital. It doesn't mean it's divided equally. It's still divided equitably, which many times the application is equal. Same way with Oregon. It's divided equitably. So, yeah.
Interesting. All right, next question. Colin, our house is paid for. If we go through with a divorce, how is the home divided up?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways that can be handled. I guess the easiest, the simplest way to describe it on the radio is there's 3 ways to handle the house. You can buy the person out, they can buy you out, or you sell the home. So when a house is paid off, let's say it's a $500,000 house, many times the courts won't consider cost of sale in determining half the equity. So if you want to buy that person out, it's $250,000. Well, how are you going to do that? You might have to refinance. So there might be other assets, 401ks or other investments that you can balance it off. But it's essentially dividing that marital asset. So it's how do you finance it? Sometimes right now that's a real problem because of the interest rates.
Yes.
Or either a refinance and it's like, well, I don't want to lose my 2.75. Well, got to get the other person off the mortgage. But when a house is paid off, there's a lot of money that has to be, bought out. And if you don't have other assets sitting around that you can negotiate, it may require it to be sold because you can't pull out $250 or more to buy the other person out.
Interesting. Colin Amos in studio answering your questions. His number is 1-800-DIVORCE. Hey, Colin, can you fix a financial error on a divorce decree?
Yeah, it depends. That's an interesting question. So a financial error, if there's both parties agree that there's an error, it needs to be adjusted because you put in a wrong provision or a duration or a date wrong for a buyout or a loan payment or something. Yes, we call it, Scrivener's error, judicial error. And so you can come back in and modify it. If it's clear the intent of the judgment or the decree was not what is actually in writing, you can come back in and adjust it. But sometimes if it's just a bad provision or a bad deal, like you didn't put a refinance clause in there and the person says, I want off the mortgage, I need to go buy a house and I can't get my name off it, that's a done deal. Unless you had a refinance clause, you're just going to be stuck. That's not a financial error. That's just a bad deal. A lot of people who do it themselves, they don't look at those kind of details, like a refinance clause.
That's why it's good to call you.
At least call me. Again, it's free. I'll talk to people over the phone. I'm not hiding the ball. And if they can ask me some specific questions as opposed to, what should I do in a divorce, which is fine. I can give them some real high level. But if they ask, hey, I'm going to be trying to get out of the house, what should I think about? Well, make sure there's a refinance or sale clause in your judgment so that if she can't buy you out, she has to refinance. She can't refinance. She has to sell the house so you can eventually get off the mortgage. So that's an example of the details.
I like that. So if you've got specific questions that are running through your mind, 1-800-DIVORCE, you can call Colin, and he can be very helpful with those specific questions. Final one that came in. Colin, I'm not sure I can afford an attorney, but my wife has one. What should I do?
It is not easy, depending on what's at stake, to do it, go it alone.
Yeah.
It's hard enough if you're both on the same page and amicable and trying to figure it out to get through the process. But if you don't have representation, the nuances and details can really eat you up. And depending on what's on the table, there's some people that have, sufficient assets or debts, or that the spousal support is going to be $2,000 a month. I can't afford an attorney. Well, if it's $2,000 a month after tax for 5-10 years, you can't afford not to have an attorney. So sometimes it's a matter of get that credit card or borrow from a friend or a family member and come up with the resources to make sure you're protected, even if you have them partway through the process or near the end, or come in for a consultation. Don't just think because I don't have a retainer, I shouldn't at least consult with an attorney, because we only charge $200 for a detailed consultation, lasts at least an hour. You don't have to hire us, but you can walk out of that meeting with a plan of action on how to represent yourself.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, I just had a friend and his wife, they are going through a divorce, but before it was finalized by the judge, they had to go through like a counseling course through the state. Does that sound normal?
No, they had to take a parenting class.
Parenting class,
yeah,
is that what
so
it was?
every county requires you to take a parenting class because parents can be pretty nasty. And they
Parenting is nasty even when you have a wife and it's amicable.
That's right. That's right. And then, divorced couples can be pretty nasty and putting the kids in the middle. So every county requires you to go through a parenting class that says, don't be a dick. Treat each other with respect for the benefit of your kids. Don't punish them.
My daughter's 15 and she's still doing well, but how are the teenage years with your daughter?
My daughter?
Yeah.
Like a porcupine. And that's what I tell a lot of clients. I want all this time. I'd like, listen, when your kid gets to be 13, they don't want to be with any parent. I want all this parenting time. It's like, I can tell you, they don't come home and say, teach me about life, Dad. Tell me everything you know. They're like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So it is harder when you're in different households and they want more parenting time. And I'm like, well, if you got more parenting time, would they want to spend more parenting time? Not that they get to choose, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, if I want time with my daughter, I'd pretty much have to take her devices away and lock them up and throw away the key.
You have to take that amusement park trip. We're going to Six Flags.
That's the way to do it.
That is, you have to find what they're interested in. I did that with my son because he, as most boys are, they're very interested in Call of Duty and, that kind of stuff. And I would just go. And I used to be a big video gamer when Pac-Man was a deal.
I got guys my age that think Call of Duty is the bomb.
Yeah, but I can't. I used to really. I bought a video game for $3,000 when I was 13. Put it in a game parlor. I was a gamer. I played Asteroids, all that kind of stuff that many people don't.
Oh, the
know
arcades
about.
where my mom she'd be like, "Hey, you want to go to the mall with me?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "I'll give you money for the arcade." I'm in.
Yeah. So I grew up, but then they started playing, and you need 12 fingers to play these games, and I'm running backwards. I'm shooting myself at the head, and so. But my son was really into it, so I'd just go down and watch. One, it was fun to watch.
Yeah,
and that was my way.
You're connecting with him.
Yeah, and he would tell me. Then we'd get into conversations because he can actually talk and play the game. I can't even play the game. And we'd be talking about other things while I'm watching him play Call of Duty. So
and
you
he's dominating at the same time.
And you got to find that connection point, whatever that is. Sometimes, you can pull them out and make them do what you want to do. But a lot of times, if you want that connection, and that's when people are getting divorced, they forget that. And try to really connect with your kids in a different way so that so they do want to come over, so they do want to visit you in your crappy apartment and things like that.
All right, you can check them out online, goldbergjones-or.com. The phone number is 1-800-DIVORCE. As Colin pointed out, if you have questions, especially specific ones, call him. The consultation is no charge, and he will make sure you're at least pointed in the right direction. But he's there to help. 1-800-DIVORCE is the telephone number, and he comes in studio every month to answer questions. So in a few weeks when you come back in, I need specifics on what you're eyeing for your wagers.
I've got a couple futures right now, but I'll save it. I'm going to try to hold. But, yes, I can also give very bad gambling advice to anybody who calls me, too.
1-800-DIVORCE for guaranteed losers.
That's right.
All right. Big thanks to Colin. We'll come back, and when we do, we'll keep things rolling here. Chris Burkhart going to join me in studio. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. I got a good idea. All right, big thanks to Colin Amos. I really appreciate Colin. He is a good dude, and I'm not sure what's going on. I've had a number of friends over the last year to year and a half who have gone through the divorce process, and so I just send them to Colin. I'm here, dude. Call him. And I just give them Colin's cell number. But what I love about Colin is that he takes care of people. And divorce sucks, man. It sucks. But it's nice to have someone there that will answer questions. He's not just trying to tap into your pocketbook. He's just there to help, which is really cool. So, again, if you're facing a divorce, custody issue, or you need a prenuptial agreement, 1-800-DIVORCE. Chris Burkhart's going to join me in studio next hour. Now, my man Brendan is here. And, Brendan, without giving any key parts of the movie away for those who haven't seen it, I have seen Happy Gilmore 2. I watched it on Friday night. Now, you have worked your way through it. You're about halfway done. Just give me your impressions thus far. Because I told you yesterday I give it 6 out of 10. It's not the original, but yet it's not awful. I thought it might be a disaster, but I was thoroughly entertained. What have you experienced so far?
Yeah, I would say the same, Chad. You know, my brother, he's just a few years younger than me. He watched it before I did, and this morning I had a little bit of time. Like, okay, I'll watch it with lunch and you know, see how far I get. And I got about an hour left. But all of a sudden, he pokes his head in. He's like, "What are you cackling about?" Because I like every 3-4 minutes, I'd be like breaking out in laughter, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty funny. And I'm sure there's already something I forgot, but the part that really got me, Chad, was when obviously Happy sees his caddy grown up, and then you're like, oh, it's Will Zalatoris. Like that whole sequence was pretty funny. Seeing the cameos is cool. I heard there's even more to come, but like, oh, there's Kelsey Plum. Oh, there's Jack Nicklaus. There's Travis Kelce. Just it's a little kind of like a lot, but I can understand it being entertaining, and I chuckled a few times for sure.
Yeah, the golfers in the movie, I think, did a really good job. I was impressed with Scotty Scheffler. I think John Daly's amazing. Like, he's perfect for that role in that movie. So it's nice to see the cameos, and I think they do a good job of kind of sprinkling in the original movie with some of the flashbacks and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the only thing that kind of, when I read afterwards, Chad, was that Adam Sandler had to change the script after Cal Weathers passed away. And, that, like, you realize it wasn't really that long ago. If they'd made it just a little bit sooner, could have seen Cal in there. But, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I'm excited to see the ending and see how it shakes out.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Chris Burkhardt going to join me. If you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. Chad doing here. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, what's going on? What's going on? What's go- All right, what's going on, my friends? All right, 2 hours in, and Brendan has already checked out on me. You doing okay in there, my friend? All right. Big thanks to Colin Amos, Dave Decker, Chris Burkhart's going to join me here in about 18 minutes. We'll get his take on Jrue Holiday, who made his first appearance to the media here in Portland today, which is really cool. And football camps are here, and we're getting ready for football season, which is going to be terrific. So if you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can reach out to me on social. You'll find me on X, at Chad and Rip City. You can watch the show via our live stream on youtube.com. Just find Rip City Radio 620. And you can always podcast and listen live on our free iHeartRadio app, 503-248-0620. We have a 4-pack of tickets for the Hillsboro Hops that we want to give away, and we're going to do that right now. I don't have the date of the game, so it's going to be a surprise for both you and me. But if you would like a 4-pack of tickets to sit in the Rip City Radio Row for an upcoming Hops game, we'll take the second caller. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. Call now, and you'll get a 4-pack of tickets for the Hops. 503-248-0620. And as I mentioned earlier this week, I was driving out to Forest Hills Golf Course. And so I was driving right down 26, and it's beautiful out there. The new ballpark is awesome. So when you go to a game, you get a chance to watch some baseball, but also see the construction and how the new stadium's coming along. That is going to be quite the spot. I can't wait to go to a game at the new stadium, all the work they put in, but it looks great out there. 503-248-0620. Call now for your chance to go to a Hillsboro Hops game at a Hillsboro ballpark, and you can sit in the Rip City Radio Row courtesy of me. 503-248-0620. Fire away with your calls right now. If you're just joining me, good afternoon. I appreciate your time. A couple of things I want you to hear from Jrue Holiday, who was introduced to the media today. He talked about his fit with this current ball club. I think a lot of people were wondering that as well. Jrue Holiday doesn't see an issue.
Honestly, we talked about offense slightly, a little bit. Obviously, defense, I feel like I fit in anywhere. Knowing the type of defense that they had and played with. Excuse me, sir. Yeah, let's relax a little bit. Right here, hold that. Yeah, the type of defense that they had last year, super excited about. But honestly, I'm here to fit in wherever I fit in.
Gotta love that, Jrue. Just gonna do whatever it takes to help the team win. You know, that's the type of pro he is, and he calmly navigated the press conference with his son making all sorts of noise. He also talked about, coming to Portland.
Ended up getting a call from Brad, and he ended up telling me a little bit before. So, but I was excited. I knew that obviously I got traded here before, and so it was just kind of full circle. Talking to Chauncey about it, talking to Joe about it, and I really do appreciate what they did for me the first time around. That really does mean a lot for me in my career. So I know this time around, just talking to them, they're just kind of like, I got another chance to get you, and they thought that I'd be a good piece here. So excited to be here.
Yeah, this I thought was pretty cool, but apparently he's been wanting to play with Dame for a while. And, the trade for Holiday went down before Dame re-signed with Portland. He was asked about Dame coming back home.
Well, when he got released, I texted him a little emoji. And I don't know, maybe it was kind of like, what's up? Because obviously Dame loves Portland, and he's been here for years, and I know his family and stuff is here. But to be able to play with him on the same team is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. And even before I left New Orleans, that was something that I've always wanted to do. So being able to do it back here, and especially with the team that Dame has really put on his back for a long time, is really cool.
All right, that's nice. He was also asked about what it's like being traded from the Boston Celtics, a championship-level team, to a team that's, going through a rebuilding process, which the Trailblazers have done. Now, they're starting to come out of that, and we saw flashes of that in the second half of last year, but not in the same level yet as the Boston Celtics.
To go into a team that's fighting to make the playoffs?
We'll find out. No, I feel like no. I think that I've been in the game long enough to know that it's not always going to be the brightest or the best or the easiest, whatever you want to say. But I think coming to a team and an organization that has the character of this team and organization makes basketball great. And that's why you want to come here, and you want to play because, okay, hold on. That's why you want to come here and play, because you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. You feel like you're a part of a bigger team and a bigger purpose. So,
going back to the mentorship aspect,
you got to love that. He just knows how to answer questions. Very calm. This guy that's been around, got a lot of experience, but the ultimate team guy. He was also asked about young Hansen. What does he think about the way he's played down at Summer League?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a superstar. He's been hooping. We were talking about it earlier, just like about how much media and stuff that he's had, during Vegas. But it's he deserves it. He's been doing this thing. I'm not sure anybody kind of saw like how well he would play, but he's been out there playing well. So I'm excited.
All right, there's Jrue Holiday, now officially a part of the Portland Trailblazers, and I'm excited to see him. I just like the way he operates. He's a pro's pro. There's a lot of guys like that I've, and you probably feel the same way, whether it be football, basketball, whatever the sport may be, where you have guys that they're big-time players but not superstars, but you just like the way they operate. Like they're just solid, really good, well-rounded athletes and players, and that's Jrue Holiday. Now, we got more bad news last night, and it's been a rough week for people in my generation because we've lost a lot of greats. Hulk Hogan, arguably the most famous wrestler of all time, passed away. We lost Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show, who passed away. Ozzy Osbourne, Chuck Mangione, one of my favorites. And then last night, the great Ryan Sandberg, former Chicago Cub, passed away after his battle with cancer. Now, growing up, in the 80s, this is back before the internet or cell phones. We didn't have that. We didn't have access to that type of technology. We had video games and stuff, which was cool. But, when it came to following sports, you had to tune in and watch your sports on television, basketball, baseball, football. And with cable television, two channels that were absolute home runs back in the day were TBS and WGN. WGN based out of Chicago, TBS based out of Atlanta. And the reason why those two stations were so great is, one, TBS had the NBA, so you could catch NBA games throughout the course of the regular season. They also carried Atlanta Hawk games, so you could watch Hawk games. And they had the Atlanta Braves. And because of the access that we had on a daily basis, especially to the Braves during baseball season, that's why I fell in love with guys like David Justice, Terry Pendleton, John Smoltz, Steve Avery, Tom Glavine, because they were on TV every day. And you had a chance to watch them. And they had great announcers, some of the very best, Pete Van Wieren and Skip Carey, like great announcers, great talent, and you could watch the teams every day. Well, WGN gave us Michael Jordan. Chicago Bulls games were on WGN, and you could watch them all the time for nothing, no charge. Michael Jordan. And then, of course, they had the Chicago Cubs. And it was great because this is back during the days of Harry Carey. And so I'd watch games, and I fell in love with some of their players. Greg Maddux, Andre Dawson, and the great Ryan Sandberg. And it's because of channels like WGN and TBS that allowed me to watch games out of the market that I lived in, which gave me the opportunity to connect to players outside of my area that I could become familiar with. And I was a big sports fan, so I watched sports all the time, and to have access to those type of games was awesome. But Ryan Sandberg was a pro's pro. And if you listen to anyone that had a chance to meet him or ran into him, they have nothing but great things to say about him. He was the consummate professional. You know, like I saw a video, this is a great example of being a professional and how to handle yourself. There's this video floating around of Josh Allen, Bills quarterback, where he's at practice at Bills camp, and there's a bunch of military guys who were in watching practice. He walked over, took off his hat, and shook hands with each and every one of them and thanked them for their service. And I thought, man, that's cool. Ryan Sandberg was the same type of guy. Great player. And the way Harry Carey would say his name, Ryan Sandberg, you know, because Harry Carey was, well, he's Harry Carey. So he's sipping Budweiser throughout the entire game on air. There was no one like Harry Carey, but Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson, Greg Maddux, all those guys. But getting older sucks, man, because the guys, the athletes, the entertainers that you grew up admiring, who were part of my wheelhouse in my childhood, they're starting to pass away now, and it sucks. And I realize that's a natural part of life that we have to deal with human loss, but I hate it. Ryan Sandberg was awesome. But those stations, WGN and TBS, were great because we had access to a bunch of free games that we could watch all the time. And it was great during the summertime when nothing was going on to tune in and watch the Cubs and the Braves. And those guys, it's the players that I grew up with that are larger than life. All right, we'll come back, and Chris Burkhardt will join me in studio. We'll get his take on Hulk Hogan. He's a big wrestling fan. Get his take on Jrue Holiday. Football season's right around the corner. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, I called up Chris Burkhardt today, and I said, hey, I'm inviting you in studio. You don't have to come, but I miss your face, and here he is. All right, so I think we just nailed it. You're a huge wrestling fan, and I respect your wrestling knowledge.
Big time.
Rich Patterson is a big wrestling fan. The Godfather Dwight James, his brother, the Godbrother Bruce. So the Beatles are not my favorite band of all time. They've got some music that I love, but they're not my favorite. But yet I still acknowledge that they're the greatest band of all time because I understand that their influence, how many different musicians over the course of decades they impacted with their songwriting and the way they did things that inspired youngsters to go out and become musicians. They started a wildfire. I feel like Hulk Hogan's the same way. There are a lot of people that don't point to Hulk as their favorite wrestler, but his impact in the wrestling world it's unmatched.
Yeah, it's like when people would argue with me musically, like, oh, Jimi Hendrix isn't the greatest guitar player of all time because there are guitar players today that can run circles around them. Yeah, but without Jimmy, they're not there. They don't exist. Like, he paved the way, right? Yeah. And with Hulk Hogan, like, I think Hulk Hogan was not very good in the ring, right? This is my wrestling take. It's a hot one. Like, he had a leg drop, a big boot, and he would Hulk up if you hit him. Those were his 3 moves, right? There was no great storytelling in the ring. However, wrestling is more than that. It's the promos, the charisma, being larger than life. He literally made a superstar. Like, there was wrestling stars. He made a global icon. I think he's the most influential figure in wrestling history.
There's no question. And that's why I respect him so much. You're right, because he understood all aspects of the wrestling game. But most importantly, the promotion, the theatrics, and the connection with fans. There are so many people, stories and stories are pouring out over the last few days since he passed away of all the different interactions he's had with people and the impact he had on them. It's remarkable.
I mean, your aura and your ability to move the needle is so huge when you jump to a competitor, flip wrestling on its head, become the first company to beat WWE, and then force them to change their entire outlook on wrestling just to stay alive. Almost killed an entire company. It would be as if, if MJ in the middle of the height of the NBA jumped over to, the G League, even though it wasn't there. I'm going to go to the G League. I'm going to turn this into the best thing. And, there's only certain people that can do that, man. And like I told you earlier, that what makes Hulkamania so interesting is that don't look at it through the lens of 2025. The curtain has been pulled back in 2025. I mean, WWE just put a documentary on Netflix called Unreal, where it's literally showing them booking WrestleMania and the 2 guys who are fighting, talking about the matches and stuff like that. The curtain's been pulled back. Hulk was the biggest icon on the planet at a time when everyone still thought wrestling was real.
It's amazing. My mind as a young little Chad was blown away when I saw Hulk Hogan as Thunder Lips, the Ultimate Male in Rocky III. To see Rocky and Hulk in the same ring in a movie my mind was blown. But I just heard an interview that was done a couple of days ago with Sylvester. He said that working with Hulk in the ring for that movie was amazing because his ability to strike without causing damage, the way he could handle a smaller human being in the ring and not kill him as they were going through their scenes and stuff. He was blown away by how much of a technician he was in being able to move around a ring and operate with someone without hurting them but still make it look real. He couldn't believe it.
Which is funny because how many stories do you see in Hollywood of a guy getting knocked out for a scene because the actor he was with didn't know how to pull a punch?
All the time. Yeah, but he could do that. And the difference about Hulk is not like a lot of movie stars are shorter, but the screen makes them look bigger. Hulk was a legitimate, huge human being.
Right.
Massive.
Yeah. And again, it's what made him so special, Chad. It's like, even when people will argue today, oh, the NBA is so deep and it's the most talented era ever, and people are doing doing that in warmups and this and that. Yeah, but MJ did something that no player prior to him did, and that was he created a brand and he made a superstar, right? The Jordan brand, the shoes, the commercials, the merch, right? Hulkamania, same thing. Every single kid wearing a bandana, wearing the yellow Hulkamania shirt. when he goes heel after being being a babyface his entire career, everybody on the planet wearing a black and white NWO shirt. Like all the wrestlers today, the fact that you can go on the WWE shop and buy a wrestling T-shirt, they have guys like Hulk to thank for that.
Yeah, you're right. He's like an MJ. MJ was really the first player who really opened up that market with the merchandising, the shoes, and all that stuff. I mean, Magic and Bird had their Converse deal, and they were big, but MJ took it to a different level.
Yeah,
with that pairing with Nike.
Yeah,
but yeah, I love the Hulk. He was great, and like most human beings, he wasn't perfect, right?
He was
had
flawed.
his faults. He made mistakes, but I always try to evaluate someone not just on their mistakes, but how much good they have done as well. So I think when you look at his life as a whole, the balance is in his favor of the impact he had on many people, which is great.
Well, I mean, we can argue all day too. Like Terry Bollea was flawed, right?
Yeah.
And he had some skeletons in that appropriate things racially, right?
Yeah.
At a time when he was pretty down in his life. But Hulk Hogan, which let's not get it twisted, Hulk Hogan is a character, right?
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, his impact on pop culture and an entire generation is second to none.
I loved him. You know, I'm right in that wheelhouse where I grew up with these guys. They were larger than life. Like, I would just think of Hulk and Andre the Giant, and we'd have those discussions about who would win or what would happen in this. I mean, wrestling was huge back then. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh, my gosh. That's a loaded question. But, I mean, my Paulie pride, I do quite like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But growing up, though, I was all Undertaker all the time. Team Undertaker. I love that guy.
That's awesome. Undertaker's great. I think my favorite of all time is Superfly, but I love Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I'm sorry, but if you roll around with a 2x4, yeah, he was great, man.
Yeah.
But my brother and I, when we were young, we had no idea that crap was fake. We had no idea. We thought it was real. Like, whoa, he just busted a chair over his dome.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and Hacksaw is one of the first ones that shocked the world. It wasn't him and the Iron Sheik that were driving together to the next city and got pulled over, and the whole world was like, "What? The good guy in the back?"
Close enough, like on Snooka's forehead, you could see these little scratches, but they're
right.
It's amazing to me.
And people will argue too, like wrestling's fake, right? It's not fake; it's predetermined. There is a difference.
They still have to go out there and perform those maneuvers without getting hurt.
Yeah, but there was the match years ago. It was Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar, and they wanted him to have color, which in a wrestling term means bleed, but blading wasn't allowed in WWE at that time. Now, I believe they may have brought that back, but it was not a thing. And so Randy Orton, being an absolute boss, told Brock Lesnar to open him up the hard way, which means legit hit me. So Brock Lesnar gets on him. Legit. Keep in mind, Brock Lesnar was UFC heavyweight champion and a multi-time national champion Greco-Roman wrestler. So he gets on top of Randy Orton and boom, throws an elbow. One elbow, open him up, throws a second one to open it up bigger. Randy Orton is just, he's crimson mask, as they say, right? Open him up the hard way. Everyone thought that it was a shoot. Like, they thought that Brock was really mad and so opened it up. So when Brock went backstage, the famous story is that Chris Jericho had to be pulled off of him because they got into a fight because he thought you're supposed to protect workers in the ring and you're out there bloodying him. And the whole time it was like, no, Randy Orton, being an absolute alpha male, was like, yeah, dude, elbow me. I want to bleed. Like, wrestlers are crazy.
They're crazy. Gosh, that's so awesome. Chris Burkhardt in studio hanging out with me. We got the press conference today. Man, Jrue Holiday, every single answer he gave was perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. It sounded like a guy that was pissed off that he was going to Portland, right?
Dude, he made point to mention the relationship between Chauncey and Joe Cronin and how much he respects them for what they did for him to get him to a spot where he wanted to go.
Right, and that's obviously huge, and I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line they do him a solid again. But it's, without saying as much, basically said, like, yeah, he understands his role, how he can make Scoot better just by being on the floor, which is a good thing. Obviously, Blazer fans loved he was pretty complimentary of young Hansen. So, yeah, I'm excited to see Jrue play, and they're going to see a lot of him next year, especially with Damian Lillard not hitting the court. So things are looking up. Like, this is where with the whole Damian Lillard and the things that they've done this offseason, Chad, real quick, is there was a lot of people right? Some of our friends are the ones too who just poo-pooed the Damian Lillard signing and this Jrue Holiday trade all day long. It was dumb. It doesn't. I don't get what they're doing. Blah blah. I'll tell you this. I get home yesterday and my neighbor is outside watering his plants and looked at me. He's like, "Oh, you still doing the Blazer stuff?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, hosting the shows this and that." He's like, "Man, I'm excited for this year." I have lived at that house now almost 5 years since the first time my neighbor looked at me. He's like, "I am so excited for the Blazers next year." And that's why I looked at him and I was like, the Damian Lillard thing, sometimes things to me, Chad, are more important than basketball and what they do on the court. But the thing is, it's like you get a little bit of that. Like Rip City was never dying, but you feel like Rip City's kind of showing itself again, right? People are excited. That's not the first time someone has told me, "Yeah, I'm excited for next year." And it's been a while since you and I have felt that from fans. So these moves they've made, fans are seeing it and liking what they're seeing.
I think this gentleman I ran into over the weekend summed it up perfectly. He said, "Dude, Dame is back," and he was visibly excited. He told me, "I don't care what he does on the court. I'm just happy to have him back." And I think that's where the majority of Rip City's at. He's ours. We got him back, and that's all that matters to him.
Yeah. And people will argue, what he did on the court, and Clyde went to the finals, and obviously Walton. But this is the type of stuff. This is why Dame is in that conversation for the greatest Blazer of all time. I don't know if there's any other Blazer that has had an impact on the fan base just by being themselves like Damian Lillard has.
His Q rating here is off the charts.
Oh my gosh.
People love him, man.
Yeah, it's
good for me to be out and talking to fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I get stuck in this bubble of being around media guys, but when you get out and just talk to people in the community, then it's a good reminder. They help remind you of what's important to them.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard really matters here in town.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with Blazer fans and on social the other day because people were getting upset that some of the things they were reading from different writers and talking heads about just poo-pooing the deal. And my big thing is, and you're one, Chad. I'm going to give you your flowers, right? You're one because you obviously do it with that Broncos towel behind you. That I am very big on, even though we sit here and we talk and we can criticize the team, but I'm very, very big on never forget what it's like to be a fan.
Yep.
Right? Because without the fans, you and I don't have a job, right? The players aren't getting the money they're getting paid without the fans. And you, I'm pretty sure, just like me, the reason I wanted to sit in front of a mic is because I love sports.
I love sports.
So never forget what it's like to be a fan. So when you have those conversations with fans and you remember that feeling, it'd be like if Elway left in his prime and a year later he's like, "You know what? This isn't right. I just want to be back in Denver." You would have been giddy.
Yeah.
Giddy.
Yeah, I was like that when he came back to run the team after they fired Josh McDaniels. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Just having him back involved with the organization meant everything to me.
Yeah.
And that's how people feel about Dame, and I think that's really cool. And that's why I still like to go and actually buy tickets and pay for tickets myself and go to different games, college football, NFL, or whatever, because being around fans, it reminds you of what's really important to them, which is cool.
Well, I have sat in more professional games, not just basketball, but NFL, college football, etc., in a press box, right? And
it's not the same.
I can go to I've done a 49er game in a press box, and I've done a 49er game in the stands. And being in the stands, it's completely different. It's special. I like every once in a while the Blazer game. It's unfortunate because with you hosting the radio show, you don't get to. But every once in a while, I'll leave media row and I'll go hang out with some fans and just watch the game. Hey, I'll watch the third quarter with you up in the 300 section. People yelling in your ear, then they ask you, "Oh, what do you think about this?" And in the middle of a question, they're just getting excited. And it's like being in the fan wave it's special, man. It's fun.
Yeah. So all of that talk last year, about the excitement with the young players, Scoot, Shaden, Klingon, Denny, and Tamani. If you were hanging out with fans, they would tell you that what they were noticing, and they were noticing their play and their defense, and people were really excited about the way that group finished the season and played. That excitement was real.
It was very real.
Because people saw the potential in the young players and what it could potentially become.
Yeah, it was very real. I thought last year was the first time in a handful of years that at the end of the season there was some optimism.
So imagine what it's like for Chinese basketball fans in China who have a chance to tune in, who've had one legit great pro in Yao Ming, having a chance to see young Hansen get taken in the first round and play so well at Summer League. They got to be thrilled out of their mind that they may have one of their own who may turn out to be a good NBA player again, which is cool.
Well, I mean, it's the same reason that fans here in Portland who love basketball pay attention to what Peyton Pritchard's doing, right? Yeah. That's why they always, forever, like, how many times did you hear, oh man, trade Kevin Love to Portland? He's a Portland, he's an Oregon kid, bring him back. When your own is out there doing something special, you watch. And so you don't have an entire state or an entire city. Young Hansen has an entire country who's, as you and I have pointed out, whose NBA fan base is bigger than the population of the United States.
A lot of people over there.
I mean, that's awesome. That's so cool to have that, and to be, especially, you love a sport and now you get that representation. It's the same reason you asked me who's my favorite wrestler of all time. I love The Rock.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, his grandpa looked like my grandpa. They were from the island of Hawaii like my family was. Again, the representation part, you cling to that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's why I like watching Sam Levitt down at Arizona State playing so well in his first year and poised for another big year this season. He played right down the street of Westland.
That's right. Westland's finest.
I love watching all the local guys. Like even Richie Sexton, who I went to school with. It blew my mind to see a guy come from Prairie High School that hit 300 homers in the majors. Like, that blew my mind.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff's awesome. That stuff's awesome. Same thing with, going back full circle. You're talking about Hulk Hogan. That's why, when you found out as a kid, whoa, Roddy Piper lives in Hillsboro? What? How cool is that?
So, dude, that had to be pretty sweet for you, for Marcus Mariota to win the Heisman and be such a stud at Oregon.
Oh, I loved that. I loved Mariota coming through. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
And he was laid back and cool, man.
Oh, it's that island life, man. It's just spreading the aloha.
That's what it is. They're spreading the aloha. Yeah, people like that. They like to be connected. Like, I follow. If I see someone or an athlete from the state of Oklahoma, if that's where they came from, I like to follow them and check them out. I thought it was sweet when Austin Reeves made a name for himself and became one of the more prominent players on the Lakers, coming from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
No one really knew who he was, and then he's out there balling. I think that kind of stuff's neat, man.
Yeah, it creates good storylines, and that's what we're all about.
All right, Chris Burkhardt is in studio. You want to hang out for the final segment?
Does a bear do the thing? I don't know what the rest of the saying is, but you know what I mean.
All right, that's a yes. All right, if you want to jump on board, 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Yeah, I went through the Ducks' schedule. I think they lose at Penn State and they win every other game. They look like an 11-1 football team to me.
Yeah, Penn State's going to be – I think Penn State's going to be really good. I think
they're right there with Oregon, Ohio State. There's a group of probably 7 to 8 teams that have legit national title hopes. The Penn State game is going to be tough, but I just think Oregon is in a prime position with their schedule to once again be a part of that Big Ten title game.
Yeah, and if you get there in year 2 and you make a return trip, that's incredible. That's incredible what Oregon's been able to do in such a short time there. In the Big Ten. Again, I still wish the Pac-12 were a thing, but you look at that schedule and you're absolutely right. I think the dark horses are those last 2 games right now. How good? I don't think anyone has an idea how good or how bad, so go either way, USC is going to be, right? And I think at this point in time with the way things are, you don't want to play Washington on the last game of the schedule either. So it's a little bit interesting there, but I agree with you. It's a favorable schedule.
And I think it's better that Dante Moore left Oregon, got a chance to play at UCLA, and now he's coming back. Like, that experience is going to help him as he takes over a new football team.
Yeah, absolutely. And people forget that Dan Lanning recruited him. He was an Oregon commit, decommitted, went to UCLA because Bo Nix came. He wanted to play. And, then he transfers in and they get Dylan Gabriel. And yes, he sits, but you got a year to actually go play. Then you sit behind Dylan Gabriel for a year, and now you get to go prove yourself. And of course, guys are going to talk up their own players, but everybody's been talking him up. The wide receivers love him, say that he throws a great football. So I'm eager to see how he does, and then hopefully this is a good one too. You think Dan Lanning, and of course I think Dan Lanning into the situation he came in, that's what you needed to do. Hit the portal, get some guys in to continue to build and get your quarterback room steady. And now you have guys, and hopefully Moore's the first one that you can show that you can develop this position as well.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. Looking forward to it. I can't wait for college football. I'm so into college football right now that I'm jonesing for the season to get underway. I had so much fun. Last year was so great with the expanded playoff and so many teams with a chance to possibly get in. It made for a very compelling regular season.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's like college football is the best. I'm one of the weird ones who I love the NFL too, but I like college football Saturday. You'll find me watching Tulane versus Northwestern. Why? Because it's college football and I can.
Have you been playing NCAA 26?
Yes, a lot.
See, dude, this is where I get screwed. My birthday is at the end of August. I can't buy the game because I know someone is going to get it for me for a present because it's like my present every year. So I can't spoil that for them. And so I have to wait, and I'm jonesing to play it.
Yeah.
And everyone I've talked to that's played it said it's unreal.
It's good. It's good. I like it better than 25.
How challenging is it going up against a computer?
It's harder than 25.
Oh, good.
I know that when we played college football at 25 and that little dynasty we're in, I think we went through 7 seasons, and I didn't lose a single game to the computer. And then in 26, I lost my second game to the computer. It was just Arizona. Hawaii couldn't handle it. But, yeah, it's good. It's got its bugs, but so did 25 when it came out. But it's a good football game.
Oh, good. Are the graphics better or the same?
Graphics slightly better. The stadium atmosphere and the additions that they made there with they added more music, more chants, more celebrations. The stadiums feel more alive. They feel a lot closer. Last year wasn't bad, but the stadiums feel closer to the real deal. I text my buddy, messaged my buddy on Twitter, DM'd him because again I've told you that I have a buddy who's a producer on the game, and I was like, I just heard the band Oregon Marching Band play "School's Out." That's a real stand song that the band plays. He's like, oh, yeah, just wait till they get into the red zone. And I'm like, I know exactly what they play when they get into the end zone, the stick it in tune. And in the video game, they got there, and I'm like, no, they're not. And then they played it. I'm like, the Oregon Marching Band, if you're playing at Oregon, is playing this is awesome. This is awesome.
Dude, that is really cool. The detail, I've noticed this with different stadiums on the game that I play. And, with stadiums that I've actually been to in person, even the buildings outside of the stadium, surrounding it on the back, on the view that you can see, they got everything to scale. It's exactly what you would see if you were sitting in the stadium itself.
Yeah, it's pretty cool what they
Dude, that's
can
amazing.
do nowadays. And it's like, and everyone gets all uppity about college football. Like, oh, you're missing this detail. Like, I'm one of them. Like, I'm like, okay, Hawaii's field right now is not striped properly, and it irritates me. It's just green, and it needs to be two-toned, and we need to fix that. But at the same time, it's not like Madden where you got 32 teams to get right. You got 120 or some nonsense like that to nail perfectly.
What do you think about that new stadium that Hawaii's got? I saw a bowl game there last year. I mean, it's smaller, right? It doesn't fit as many people.
Technically, it's their temporary one.
So it's a temporary one then.
Yes, but they're still struggling to get through with their funding and break ground on what they want to do. Because I believe what they want to do is tear down Aloha Stadium and rebuild right there something that holds like 25,000. Right down there at the TC Ching practice complex, which they have renovated and added seats to, and it holds like 15,000 or something. But it's very temporary, but it gets the job done.
I went to a Hawaii Cincinnati football game when I was over there once, when Brian Kelly was still coaching the Cats, and the stadium. That's one of those stadiums where I've seen it on TV my whole life for the Pro Bowl and stuff, right? In different bowl games. And when I got there, I was astounded at how old the stadium was. Like, you could tell it was crickety, but the tailgating in the parking lot with the Hawaii fans and like the little luau's they had going on, truly unbelievable. Yeah. Some of the best food I've ever come across.
Well, yes, I will attest to the Hawaiian cuisine. It's very good.
But dude, like in the evening, because they'd always play their games in the evening time, like that nice little warm breeze that was kicking around. It was perfect.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to find some ways to watch Hawaii football, because I will be the college football degenerate watching my Rainbow Warriors at midnight kick off here because they're playing over in Hawaii.
Dude, some of my favorite times, like back when I was younger as a kid, when Hawaii was in the WAC, ESPN would carry WAC games. Like they would do like Friday night and Saturday night games. And I loved the old school Hawaii green jerseys with the white helmets with the rainbow on it. Freaking awesome.
Those are one of the coolest, cleanest uniforms, and the fact that they don't wear those anymore
it frustrates the daylights out of me.
I'll triple down on that.
Yeah, when they were the Rainbow Warriors with that set, it's so good.
Because, dude, like, it was unique. That's what I love about college football. Every town, every team, they got their own little unique traditions. No helmet uniform combination was like that.
Yeah.
It was unique unto itself.
Yep. And I'm a two-team guy. Like, obviously, I'm an Oregon guy. That's my team. But with my family from Hawaii, the only other team I like is Hawaii, right? So it irks me that Oregon made a better Polynesian uniform than the University of Hawaii has, because those Oregon Ohana ones were so good.
Irks. I like that word.
Yeah.
Irks. All right. Big thanks to our guests, Colin Amos, Dave Decker, Chris Burkhart. Big thanks to Brendan Slaughter. Tomorrow, Phil Steele, the college football messiah, will join the program, and we'll do a full preview of the season. You guys have a good night. Thanks, Burkhart. I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah.